There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies?
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association,
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Welcome back to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. We are back this week to discuss part 1 and 2 of the Maquis. We will see how this goes. This is our first two-parter that we're going to be really discussing as one episode. So we made everybody watch 2 hours of Deep Space Nine this week. We'll see how that worked out for us in our discussion. I am Blake, and with me is
Prentice,
Emily,
Mike,
Chris,
Nicole,
Christopher,
and Jessi.
And Christopher, I understand that you have a synopsis for this one.
I do.
Should we be ready to be highly entertained, or?
I hope so.
Okay.
That's the goal. Sisko's friend admits he is a terrorist, tries to recruit Sisko, is caught during an attack, and Sisko, the fine officer he is, lets him the fuck go.
Somebody's not happy.
Well, thank you for joining us for this week's episode. So for those that have not listened to us before, welcome. If you've made it this far, good luck. The way this normally works is we're going to start off getting our first impressions from those who have not watched the show before, and then we will hear from the longtime fans of the show and move into some discussion. So let's go ahead and kick off first impressions with Chris.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the episodes. I thought that they did. I like the story, and I like the story because there was some weight to the consequences if things went wrong or if they failed, and not just it was more than just good versus bad. It was the moral implications. There were friendships being tested. There was obviously lives were being lost, and there were layers. There were layers to what was going on. So I thought, from a story perspective, it was really good. I remember Scott used to say that as you go on through watching Deep Space Nine, that Sisko, the acting gets better, and we start seeing a lot more of who he is as a person, as opposed to kind of this monotonic, robotic, almost seeming character. But I'm just like, I don't know. I was just, every time he started talking for more than 5 seconds, it kind of started taking me out. I'm just like, just shut up so I can get back invested in the episode. Not to say he was doing bad, but I don't know. There's just something about how he delivers his lines, and it just doesn't feel natural to me. But anyways, that's a whole side thing. I thought that the way they set the status quo in the beginning of the first episode with Jadzia and Kira talking about dating, and then Cal comes on the ship, and him and Sisko reunite, and then he sees Dax, and then the first thing that Cal says to Sisko when they're alone, basically, he's like, bruh, you hit that? Like, and then you go to Quark trying to smash the fine shit Vulcan lady, and it's just like there's so much dating and romantic like discourse and events happening as they're setting the status quo, but it had nothing to do with the actual 2 episodes. I thought that was weird how they were doing that. But again, like I said, once it got rolling and everything started happening, I got into it. I enjoyed it. And there was a lot of, I felt like, and this is a guess, but I felt like there was some foundation set, and a lot of things happened that kind of are going to cause things to continue to happen, or, we're going to be seeing the ripple effect of things that happened in this episode going forward. But that was my take on it.
So you mentioned relationships and Fine ass Vulcan. So let's go to our resident shipper who just got off a ship, Nicole.
Yes, back to reality. So at first I was a little confused because we had the explosion, we had the dating talk. What does a transparent skull look like, by the way? You can add that to my questions for later, Emily. Also, Kira's a little judgy, which was kind of interesting with dating. But I was really confused when the weird lady, which I found out was a Vulcan. At first, I wrote weird lady because I didn't know what she was, and the ugly human guy were talking, and then the Teletubbies up top were looking down, watching them. I was very confused on what was happening. And then it all kind of came together. But yeah, overall, I like this episode. And this is going to be a hot take because we know I hate the Cardassians. But I liked Ducat in this episode. I enjoyed him in this episode a lot, and I enjoyed the dynamic between him and Cisco. And it was kind of fun to kind of see that they had some things in common, although Ducat is more ruthless and a killer. But I felt like there was a mutual respect between them in a way. Well, for most of the episode until the end, but it was kind of fun to watch that dynamic. It was really fun to see Quark try to shoot a shot with the Vulcan lady and fail. She had no idea what was happening, and apparently they don't understand emotion. So that was even funnier because she had no clue what was happening. But yeah, I enjoyed all the intricacies of this episode where you had Kira and Cisco kind of going at it about the Cardassians, and then you had the Cardassians trying to throw Ducat under the bus, and there was a lot going on, and it was almost like you had to really follow it. But overall, it was good. I do want to also add that the minute I saw Kel, I thought he was shady. My shady count was up, so my radar was up. So I was glad I was actually right about that for once, because normally I'm very wrong. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really fun to kind of see all the different things weaving in and out. I almost felt like there was too much going on, but it all somehow ended up coming together at the end. So pretty good.
And how about Jessi for first impressions?
I actually really enjoyed both of these once I figured out that we had to watch two. I do apologize for being late. Sorry. I actually very much enjoyed it. I had no idea what was going on most of the time. And I don't know what the fuck a Vulcan is, but they seem pretty fucking spicy themselves. Like, pretty fucking emotionally inept. So I identify with that. But otherwise, I loved the episodes.
So let's go to Spicy Christopher, since he seems to be in a mood this evening, and get his first impressions.
Shut up, Christopher.
I thought that these were good episodes that could have been great. Like, they gave the plot away in the first scene, right? You see the guy dressed as a Federation officer putting the bomb on the Cardassian ship. And I just thought that was unnecessary because it could have been more of a mystery that they're trying to unravel. Instead, it gives it away from the beginning. So you're introduced to Cal, who comes on and says, hey, we have to investigate this thing. And you're all of a sudden thinking, yeah, this guy coming on, like they're introducing him, like something's going on. I don't trust him. I thought that there were some minor flaws that could have made these good episodes into great episodes.
And let's switch over to those who have seen this show many, many times, and someone who I think knows a thing or two about Vulcans, Emily.
Okay. Vulcans aren't, I wouldn't call them emotionally inept. They just suppress everything. So they're actually heavily emotional. They just pack it all down. Pack, 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 pack. And claim to use logic and reason instead of emotion, which debatable. As far as this episode goes, I think it's a good episode for highlighting that huge gap between the people who are living in the conflict zone and then all the people with the power who live far, far away and doesn't impact them on a daily basis. So I think I'm sure there are things I could have done better, but I think overall trying to get the nuance of how difficult it is, and especially Cisco's statement of it's easy to be a saint in paradise, really highlights the problem that they're dealing with, because he lays it out. Like, yeah, it's easy when you're part of the Federation and everything's great and wonderful, but that's not where these people are living. So I appreciate it for just taking that on, because it's not easy to do. And it can make people very, very angry and get in their feels about it.
So you mentioned Cisco's speech. How many of you have listened to the intro of our show?
That's something I wrote down. It was really cool to actually hear the speech that we hear in the intro all the time.
Yeah. So this is, and we'll comment some more on that later, but yeah, this is the episode where part of that intro speech comes from, where the problem is Earth and it's easy to be the saint in paradise. Prentice.
Listen, great episode. You really see Cisco really come of age with his acting. Or Avery Brooks, I should say, gets a little bit smoother. I would like to lift up that we saw the late Bernie Casey in this episode. And Bernie, I am a fan of his because he was in one of my funniest all-time favorite movies, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, that was directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans back in 88, 89. So it was good to see him again. And just learning he actually passed away in 2017, which I did not know. We had another cameo by a Star Trek great from The Next Generation, Admiral Nechayev. She is Karen Light. So she never reached the level of our good Kai Wynn, but she's somewhat of a pain in the butt for the Next Generation group back in the day. But it was good to see her, pause, but it was good to see her again, an actress in that episode. Overall, it's world building, it's well acted, well done. I like everyone's comments about the fact that, look, you have the colonies, they're trying to manage their affairs, and then you have the far off government of the Federation. And it's similar to recently, I was watching the American Revolution documentary that Ken Burns had just released. He was talking about the British were trying to manage the American colonists. They were trying to steal land. They were fighting with the Indians. They were like, you all have to stop this. You can't go beyond the Appalachia because right now we give you orders, you're not following them, and you're going to mess up the treaties we set up, right? So it's good to see that dynamic is well done. And I can't wait to really dig into this conversation with everyone, because I think we've talked about some things about this kind of colonial kind of style of government. Kira offering her take on it was interesting as well, because she's like, listen, you shouldn't trust the Kardashians. I know what they did to my people. It's going to happen to your people. And you're just as naive as I thought you were if you don't take up for your own people. And what does that look like? And at the end, the restraint that Cisco had to say, I'm not going to kill my friend. Although that the cop was like, you're weak. He said, well, you have to call me weak, but I'm not going to kill my people. So overall, great episode. Loved it.
And to those people that watch our show and say we twist a 30-year-old show to fit our own current modern political narrative, well, suck it. We just compared it to a 250-year-old war. Mike.
Yeah, I also really liked these two episodes. To be honest, they were a lot stronger on rewatch than I remembered them being originally. I will say, I really do echo a lot of Christopher's remarks. I think these were really good episodes that could have been great. I don't necessarily agree on maybe what things Christopher said. I think the choice of having the uniformed officer plant the explosive in the intro segment was kind of very intentional and kind of smart. It was the first time, well, it's certainly not the first time that we've ever seen somebody from the Federation, from Starfleet, being the bad guy, but it's not something that anybody that's watched Trek up until this point was used to seeing, for sure. And so I think it was poignant for them to get that point across to the viewer that not everything is hunky-dory in the universe. It was a foreshadow to really where the whole two-parter leads and the whole plot of the Maquis. The fact that everything is not paradise out in the universe. There is a lot of nitty-grittiness that is really what kind of hallmarks DS9 and made it so different from the rest of Trek. We've talked about that before. So, but really the criticism that I have is the fact that they do have this really big, heavy kind of emotional narrative about the Maquis and their story. And it's weird because I feel like a lot of the weight that it should have had got kind of plowed over by other things that I enjoyed, like Quark and his attempt to get some booty, but those things just felt more out of place when, like I said, they were fun, but they were a distraction from the overall narrative of the two-parter. And there was just other stuff like that too. I didn't really have any problem with anyone's performances. I thought Cisco felt pretty natural personally, but not everybody. Like, certainly there were some things that were pretty forced, and I like Bernie Casey as well, and I thought the interaction between him and Cisco was quite good, but after a while it got to be a little bit, I don't know what the right word to describe how they portrayed that character, Commander Calvin, but it felt it's almost like the woodenness transferred onto him at times, and it was very predictable. But yeah, anyway, I mean, I'm going on, and we'll talk more. But like overall, I mean, I think these are very, very good episodes. Like I said, I think they lost some of the punch that I wish they had had.
I agree, and I think these are two very well done episodes, especially within the context of the time. We're 30 years on now from DS9, and we've seen a darker iteration of Star Trek, especially with the newer series that have been out. They've done Discovery, had some darker storylines. You've seen different things since this show came out, where things have taken a little bit of a darker look. But really thinking when this show came out, it was still very much the Gene Roddenberry vision of paradise. And we have talked for a while that there was going to come a turning point when Ira Steven Behr got more involved in the show. And he's one of the writers, and the teleplay for this episode was Ira Steven Behr. And he actually thinks this is one of the most important episodes for establishing the kind of darker Star Trek ideology, which is really what Deep Space Nine became known for in the years, both during its run in the years since. That uniformed Starfleet officer, we've seen Starfleet officers do bad things before, but there's always the righteous end to it. And this time creates this setup where it's not just the rogue officer. You have a group of individuals who within this concept of paradise have become to some terrorists, to others fighting for their freedom and belief. So this to me was really the start of where I've said this show starts to turn in a new direction. And this is for me really where it starts doing that. And that speech from Sisko about being a saint in paradise. And I think that was probably one of the best speeches out of this, because we saw Picard pontificate so many times in The Next Generation. But this speech from Sisko and the whole idea behind it was, yes, Earth is a paradise, but so what? It's not that out here. So for me, again, I love these two episodes. I love where the show goes from here, and curious now to get into our discussion. So who wants to kick us off on discussing the episode?
I want to jump in real quick and add one additional note about Bernie Casey. So those of us on the podcast here who were on the Gray 17 podcast previously, you guys have seen this guy before. Do you all remember who he was?
Which guy was he on DS9? I don't know who you're talking about.
Sisko's friend, the captain.
Oh,
or is it
Cal.
commander?
Okay,
Cal.
yes.
Yep, right.
I'm not surprised if you don't remember him. He was in one episode. Actually, technically two, I think, but one was uncredited. But in the season 2 episode of B5, Hunter Prey, it was the episode after the assassination on the Earth's president, and the presidential physician went on the run and came to B5 to try to evade the authorities. And was that Sheridan or Sinclair at that point? I've actually forgotten.
Sheridan.
Sheridan has to figure out what to do about him. But anyway, Bernie Casey plays Derek Cranston, who was the Earth officer who was sent to round up the fugitive and bring him home. So that was just a fun little factoid that I wanted to share with everybody about that.
He did look familiar.
Yeah.
Jinx.
I feel like as an actor, I've seen him in lots of other stuff.
Yeah.
Too. Bernie Casey is a pretty prolific actor through a lot of the 80s and 90s. And he has a certain gravitas to him anytime he's on the screen, a certain way of talking or presenting and carrying himself that just is memorable, I think.
And he's also been in quite a few things, because Sequest, for those who are sci-fi, he was an episode of Sequest, playing kind of a jackass admiral in that. He was also in Never Say Never Again, the 1983 Bond movie that wasn't really official. He played Felix Leiter in that, so he's been in quite a few things. Also, Revenge of the Nerds. I think that's the first thing I saw would have been Revenge of the Nerds.
I was obsessed with that movie when I was a kid. I watched it over and over and over again.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Did you also like the Police Academy movies back in the day as well?
Hell yeah, I did.
And you know what? You know about the Blue Oyster? I used to say to people, "Oh, you're going to the Blue Oyster." They're like, what do you mean by that? I said, never mind. In joke. Very in joke.
Coming to America was another one of my favorites from back then. Sorry.
We're looking for very meager accommodations. All right, back to the episode.
Back to the episode. Prentice, what do you got for us?
Oh, man. I wanted to talk about the characterization of the Vulcan in this episode. Sometimes Star Trek really messes up. Like, you would think they have no emotions, but they do have emotions. So I want to make sure that's clear. The Vulcans do have emotion. They just do the unhealthy thing of suppressing their emotion. So, I mean, for her not to be aware of what Quark was doing, I find that to be laughable. She knew. She has to play dumb for the episode, but Vulcans have a lot of deep emotions. I want to make sure that's clear. We find out more about their personality as the different series progress. I think they do a deeper job later on in this series, maybe, but no, not this series actually, but in Voyager and some other track shows. But I want to make sure it's clear that Vulcans really do have emotions. They just suppress it and they focus.
Come from a long line of Vulcans, apparently.
I think we all do.
I was just gonna say, am I a Vulcan? Because I do the same thing.
Let's say suppression and unhealthy coping mechanisms. God, that describes a good chunk of our show.
It probably also explains Ponfar, because that's a lot of suppressed emotion that they release once every 7 years.
Oh, do you all know about the Pomfar, the newbie?
No.
We talked about it last episode.
Oh,
I told him to watch Amok.
Funny just to have your emotions suppressed for so long that every 7 years you got to get it going or you die. That's the funniest thing in the world. But enough about the part.
Apparently, I'm one of those too. What,
Really?
like?
So every 7 years, the itch comes when you have to do something or someone dies. Or
I'm
you
coming
die.
up on my 7 years. So let's not. That sounded very directed at Prentice, and I didn't mean it.
She's propositioning Prentice.
I was gonna say, you went from trying to whore him out.
I was going to say, you can't get high of your own supply. If you're going to give me
yeah,
the octogenarians, let me deal with that. I can't do both.
that's why I was like, "Hey, that wasn't directed specifically at you. I'm not propositioning you."
Okay,
Even though that's exactly what it sounded like.
What the hell did I miss?
You missed when she tried to sell me off to octogenarian or some, let's say, seniors in the community said we can make money off it.
He's just not a team player. That's what you missed.
Apparently not. But if the price is right, and if you have some good medical coverage that's going to cover the therapy I'm going to need if I do such a thing, then we can talk because I'm going to go blind, most likely.
Oh my God. Okay.
From the shock and the trauma. But anyway.
So I think that this show, I think that the more that I watch Deep Space Nine, I think that it's very much, and this doesn't surprise me. We didn't really have to deal with this with Babylon 5 because there was no like precursor to Babylon 5. I think that Deep Space Nine is very much for people who have watched Star Trek before. And so like when I'm watching it and I'm not having a problem keeping up because clearly you guys explain shit to me that I have zero idea what's happening, but it's very much written based off prior episodes of other series. Because like the Vulcan, the only reason that I like okay, so she came on screen and I was like, I think that that's what Spock was. And I have only seen like 2 episodes of the original series, one being the one that we just watched. And then but they looked very similar. But I know absolutely nothing about their characteristics. So just based off this episode only, she looked very logical. Like when Quark would say something to her, she'd be like, no, that makes sense. Like that's logical. And so she just seemed very not emotion based, but she's just like pushing it down.
They use a lot of the same characters, right? A lot of the same species from other series, right? But they're different characters. I understand what you're saying because I've seen most of the other series in the franchise. So I know who the Klingons are. I know who the Vulcans are. I know who some of these species that show up in every iteration of Trek are, right? And it does help to know, hey, that's a Vulcan, that's a Klingon. I know what their temperament is. I know what they're supposed to be like. But with DS9, you don't really need to have seen something else before because the characters are unique to this series.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. When you see someone and you see a Vulcan and they like expect you to kind of know what a Vulcan is. I understand that part of it, but I don't think that this is something that you need to have seen, some of the other series.
I mean, it's almost like it's full of Easter eggs for existing Trek fans to appreciate. But like you said, you don't need it.
And really, in a lot of ways, and I won't go too far on this one, but this show creates a lot of the lore around some of these characters as well.
That's a really good point, actually, that I was going to get to at some point here anyway. So that's a good segue. But before I dive into that, I was going to say, with a lot of the older Trek shows, especially, if it's an alien race that you see more than in one episode, if it's not the alien of the week, then I will say, like, to be totally honest with Trek, a lot of the alien races that are repeat visitors get kind of distilled down to a singular trait that is memorable. You know, the Klingons are all muscle and balls and honor, and Ferengi, I think we've figured out what their deal is at this point, right?
Well, but
And
even the Ferengi, and that kind of gets to that idea about this show established more of the lore, because you look at the Ferengi, which were introduced to Next Generation, that were supposed to be the big bads, and they completely created these laughable little fuckers that they completely retooled by the time we get to DS9 to be what we have here.
Yeah, and then obviously now we have the Vulcan showing up. What I was going to say though, and this is the segue part, is another thing about these two episodes, I feel, was that they are excellent episodes at building out a lot of lore in the universe. They do a lot of world building. You learn a hell of a lot about the Cardassians and even more about their time occupying Bajor and kind of where Gul Dukat sat in that whole thing. And I forgot who said it during the intro, but Gul Dukat for me kind of stole a lot of the show in these last two episodes. He's a villain that you kind of hate to love a little bit in a way. And I think the Cardassians, you did meet them in the previous Trek series, TNG, but they're one of the more complicated alien races that I think we encounter in Trek. And they have a lot more depth to them, and we learned a lot about that. So again, as much as I enjoyed all that stuff, I felt like it also did steal a little bit of the thunder from the overall Maquis narrative, but it was good.
I noticed there were a lot of comments made about the Vulcans throughout the episode about, well, you know how the Vulcans are. I know better than to do blah, blah, blah to the Vulcans. That was specifically the part where I was like, I don't know how the Vulcans are. You know what I mean? Like based off of this one. And then I see her sitting on top of him with her fingers in his face and like trying to like mind meld. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? But I mean, I think you guys are right because I'm not having a hard time like following along with it as far as like when they do bring somebody in, it's very surface based. Like you guys said, it's just seems like there's a lot of Easter eggs that if I had watched previous episodes, I would like have caught on to a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. If you had seen things in the past, you would know like, oh, okay, I know this characterization, or hey, they're alluding to this, but it's not something that you necessarily need to have seen before.
Speaking of the Vulcans, I guess we should give a shout out to that actress. I think what was the Vulcan's name in this episode? Sakona, wasn't it? Played by Bertia Damas, who I think she was a great actress in this episode, and she's got a pretty long IMDb credit history that I think I believe it starts off on like Telenuevo kind of stuff, but I remember more recently seeing her. I was a big fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, if any of you ever watched that show. I know some people have like a really polarizing... Okay, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is, I think, awesome, but a lot of people have a very negative reaction to Andy Samberg, so I get it.
Yeah.
But she played Santiago's mom in a couple episodes. I just remember her sitting at a table with Lin-Manuel in some episode. But again, just a very good actress. And I thought, compared to, I've said before, like a lot of times the guest actor of the week on Babylon 5 when we're doing Grey 17, they were usually pretty laughably shitty actors. And that is absolutely not something that you almost ever see in DS9.
Again, we also discussed they had a little bit bigger budget.
Yes.
To get a little bit better talent on some of these shows. Nicole, you have been patiently waiting to jump in here, so...
Oh, wow.
Which I'm not patient, which is funny.
We know.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Dukat-Cisco dynamic, which I thought was interesting. One of the things I thought was interesting at the end, when Cisco comes to see Dukat and he's in his room just eating and drinking and being merry and, yay, I just eluded death. Look at me. Him and Cisco have that interaction, and he says, thank you for saving me. And Cisco's like, oh, you would have done the same for me. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, fucking right.
He even looked like he wasn't gonna. He was like,
yeah. And he was kind of like, had a smirk on his face. But I liked kind of seeing them too. And he even said, oh, Cisco, what else do we have in common? Cisco goes, nothing. And he's like not having it with Dukat. But also I felt like throughout their interactions. Like, for example, what was that other group? The Zeppelis? The Zeppazaya? What are they called?
Zeppeli.
Yeah. Like, that's a dessert, by the way. So they wouldn't let them board the ship, and Ducat gets up and is like, "You're gonna do it now," and like handles it like a G. Cisco kind of looks at him like, "Okay, cool," like they kind of, I don't know, it was kind of fun to see like their styles and the way that they did stuff, and them notice it. Like he noticed what Ducat was doing, and Ducat noticed kind of what Cisco was doing, and I just thought that was an interesting dynamic because, in a sense, like he even says that used to be my office. So it's like they're both in leadership roles. They both ran DS9, or one runs, one did run it. Like, so there are some parallels, but their personalities are completely different. And it was interesting to kind of see them come together and that juxtaposition of like Ducat getting pissed that he didn't kill them when he had the opportunity to and he let them go. Don't know if that was a wise idea, but also it was that complication of that was his friend. He didn't want to let him kill him and they didn't want to, and he even said, send somebody else so I don't have to shoot at my friend. You know what I mean? Like they didn't want to engage with each other in that kind of way, but also like they had to, right? They didn't have a choice. So it was just really interesting to kind of watch all of that unfold and have Ducat like their kind of that dynamic. And I really thought they had a good kind of mutual respecting going until the end when he basically talked mad shit to him and said, "You're weak. You let your emotions do this." And that's like, I think, kind of the biggest difference between them is that Cisco actually has emotions and feelings and has more of a moral compass than Ducat, where he has no emotion or feeling and will do whatever it takes, no matter who gets killed or crushed and taken along the way. So it was kind of cool to see that juxtaposition between the two, but also see like the parallels that they took throughout this journey together.
And before one of the super fans corrects us, it's the Zeppelite
Oh, yeah.
is what it is, which honestly sounds like something that somebody's trying to sell me in the middle of the night on the television, or some type of infomercial.
Listen, I'm Italian. I just kept thinking Zeppeli, like the desserts. What can I say?
This has really been a food and snack focused show. Christopher, our angry Alvin.
I got so pissed when Cisco just let Calvin go. Okay. This is a man who, look, whether or not you side with Kira and you think that they're freedom fighters, or if you think that they're terrorists, the Maquis were hell bent on, I mean, they didn't care if they started a war, right? They didn't care. And he's firing upon the ship. And if somebody is firing on the ship that I'm in, I'm shooting the fuck back. I don't care if you are my friend. Okay? You shoot at me, I'm going to shoot at you. You don't get that chance, right? I agreed with fucking Gul Dukat in that situation. Shoot his ass. Or at the very least, take him in. Arrest him. Don't let him get away. Oh, I'm so pissed off about that. Like, you just let him get away. And they're gonna cause a war. And they didn't care. And Cisco had the chance to bring him in. And he doesn't do it. And any war that starts is now on Cisco's head.
Tell us how you really feel.
I think I made myself pretty fucking clear.
Just checking. We knew this was going to be spicy, Christopher, this evening, but wow. Chris.
Yeah, speaking of Gul Dukat, just side note, he be fucking, don't he? He got 7 kids. That's crazy. Like he was putting in all that work on DS9 and was a interstellar terrorist commander and still found time to get it in and raise a family. I liked him more in this episode. I think it was really interesting. And I don't know if these politics are going to continue to unfold and come into play. But when he was like, when he's talking to Cisco, he's just curious, and asking about the Cardassians and if they were going to come save him or whatever he said. And Cisco's basically like, nah, man, they said it was you. They put it all on you. And he's like, oh, really? Damn. He's like, I knew this day was going to come. I just didn't know it was going to be this fast and like this. I thought that was an interesting turn. And like I said, I wonder if that's going to continue to play out. Yeah, I think the conversation surrounding Cal and Cisco and Cisco's every attempt to try to bring him back into the fold and try to save his boy, and it just wasn't happening. It's like, I kind of agree with Christopher. It's like, yo, okay, you tried on the M-class asteroid. He clapped you with his phaser and put you down. You asked him multiple times. He told you to shove it. You brought his gear to him. He shot the gear with the phaser and disintegrated it in your face. It was just like at every turn, he was shooting you down and disrespecting you. And then at the end, he's taking action against you. He's shooting at you. And Gul Dukat's like, yo, what are we doing? Like, he's going to get it like Christopher said, like, this is going to start a war. Like, what are you doing? And he just lets him go. I don't know. I get at one point
how many chances does the man get, right? How many second chances are you going to give somebody?
I mean, we keep inviting Jessi back to this podcast after all the shit she's pulled. I don't know.
Because we're all afraid of Jessi.
Jessi, she's the type to pull up. You don't want to be walking to your car at lunchtime and you see Jessi sitting on your hood talking about, all that shit you were talking about.
Oh yeah, no, I keep a note in my wallet that says Jessi did it, just in case.
Did you have that before you said "shut up, Jessica," or did you add it after you said?
Yeah,
shut
that's
up?
a post Jessica comment.
It's definitely from the B5 days. Yeah.
So, Chris, to your point about Cal should have been brought in or killed, I think there was not a real option to bring him in. So I think the only option that Cisco had was to kill his family friend. And I could see the emotional distress that would be to kill your family friend, somebody that you've known each other's wives, you came up together. So I think if he did have the choice to bring him in, he probably would have. But I think because his ship was damaged and what was happening with other ships, I don't think that was an option. So there's an option between killing one of your close family friends and letting them go, and maybe a war happens. That's a tough call. I don't know. I don't know if I could make that call, say that a family friend like that we have deep relations, that I'm going to kill that person.
Prentice, if you were Cal and I was Cisco, I would have disintegrated your ass. You would have been out of there, mister.
Damn.
I mean, Prentice,
you know what?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have that relationship.
Yeah.
And it's a long relationship. And I'm not saying that it was going to be easy, but I'm saying, look, he shot at him. He was trying to kill him. And
it was a murder, death, kill shot. He was trying to disable his ship things, and he did not try to destroy his craft.
I know, but they were like, it was just, you're firing on me, I'm going to fire back on you, right? You put my life in jeopardy. And your actions, which could start a war, are putting my life further in jeopardy and are going to kill millions more people, possibly. So I get what you're saying. That is not going to be an easy thing for Cisco to do. And killing somebody shouldn't be easy, right? But he's letting somebody go with the knowledge that he could do a lot more harm. And should the Maquis attack again,
right,
and hundreds, thousands of people die, then that's on him when he could have done something about it.
And he struggled with that decision at the end when Kira's like, you did a great job, you averted war. And he's sitting there in silence saying, I know I made a mistake that could bite me in the rear end in the future. And I have to live with that. Now, for the other Chris on this call, noted. So I know if I'm ever in a situation, what decision I will make now, because you just called it out. Wow. Okay. So
Prentice,
I got you, my brother. I got you.
Prentice, if you shot me and put me down and then told your new friends, hey, we got to get out of here. We got a stun weapon. Okay, yeah. If you stun me, if you shoot me with a stun gun, Prentice,
yeah,
it's like Harlem Nights. You just shot my pinky toe, motherfucker. That's level one. That's level one. You stun me and knock me out. That's level one, right? If I try to bring you back into the fold, bring you your gear, I'm talking about, come on, man. We know you ain't right. Let's do this. You shoot the bag that I bring you and you burn it. That's violation number 2. Then I'm trying to talk you down. I'm like, you don't got to do this. We got the upper hand. Just quit now. And then you go ride against my crew, and then you start shooting at me. And even if it's strategic shots to take out my tractor beam, to take out my navigation, all that. Nah, man. No, because you don't know. You don't know what could happen. Any one of those shots could have went erroneously, and it could have done even more damage than you anticipated, or it could have been worse. And you could have put me down. So that means 3 violations, 3 strikes. You out of there, bruh. I tried, man. I tried.
Blake, at the end of this episode, please play Dionne Warwick, That's What Friends Are For, as the outro.
I was actually thinking we would make you up, why can't we be friends?
Wow, so thank you. I know we're moving on to the conversation.
Elton John's Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting is also in contention for a song for this particular episode. So Jessi now has a flag behind her that says, "Shut up, Mike. No more form you today." I'm pretty sure that should be from, but it says form. That's what happens when you buy your shit off Temu.
Thanks,
100%. No more form you, Mike.
Oh,
what am I going to do? Send it back to you? I'm going to fucking get my Sharpie and fucking fix it.
I haven't begun to run my app yet. Don't you worry.
Mike, you should feel honored that she has a flag telling you to shut up.
I do.
I almost wonder if my t-shirt says form you too.
God, she doesn't even have a flag that tells me to shut up. That's impressive.
No, because they don't make shut up Blake ones. Only Mike's piss people off.
I had something similar. Sorry, this is like way off topic, but like if y'all are fans of the movie Idiocracy, how they were in that movie, they're
too close to home.
I know, right? In that movie, there's this sports drink called Brondo. It's supposed to be like Gatorade, but it's not. Brondo, the thirst mutilator. And so like
got electrolytes.
After that movie came out, I went out and I bought a shirt. I don't even know where. AliExpress didn't exist yet back then, so it was probably on Amazon. I bought a Brondo shirt and I was wearing it out at a restaurant one day with one of my buddies, and he was like, "You realize your shirt says the thirst multilator, right?" And I was like, "Huh?" Anyway.
Yeah, for folks who have not seen Idiocracy, it started off as a comedy, but I'm pretty sure it was a documentary of the future.
Oh, it's reality. It's where we are.
It's where we're at.
Yeah.
Nicole, what have you got for us?
So I have to say, I was kind of more angry that Cisco let the ugly guy dressed like MC Hammer go as opposed to Cal, because when he was like, "Go give him this message," I'm like, first of all, that guy was annoying. I did not like him from the jump. Like when he attacked the Cardassian guy, when they brought the dead body in, he just, maybe it's because he was ugly and it just made me mad, but he was like dressed poorly. He was ugly. He was stupid. I didn't like him. He was talking shit that he couldn't back up when they were trying to interrogate Ducat. He was just talking mad shit up on his little pedestal and he couldn't back his own shit up. So when Cisco took everyone else and let him go, I'm like, why did you let that asshole go? Let somebody else go and take him in, because he seemed like he was a higher up ringleader of the Maquis. So I was actually more pissed about that fool getting let go.
Man, Nicole,
Sorry.
We're gonna adopt you as the official Chicago brand because the hate is strong with you. My God, I just heard a 5-minute diatribe about this ugly MC Hammer fans, trash. I'm like the fire and the vitriol.
Man,
I like you even more today. Jeez.
What I'm learning is I can't like take a desk pop at any of you guys and like expect to live to see another day.
Have you done a desk pop today?
Yeah.
That is my favorite movie of all time. That movie.
Don't play that shit.
Yeah, I love that movie, and I don't care how dumb it makes me every time I watch it, but I will watch it I watched it on the plane there and back on my cruise.
Aim for the bushes.
Yep, my favorite movie.
I yelled.
For Nicole's commentary there, we will be referring her to the Especially the Lies HR department for some sensitivity training. and let's follow that up with the wokest, most sensitive of all of us, Jessi.
Lord.
I yelled down the hall one time at my boss, "I'm a peacock, you gotta let me fly." And he's like, "Shut the fuck up and go back into your office." Okay, so unpopular opinion, Christopher. I don't know if taking that guy in would have made any fucking difference whatsoever, because I just feel like it would have been cutting the head off the snake, and we know what that looks like. From personal experience, America, you take out the leader and you have MC Hammer's BFF running around like as the next Hammer. Why do you have that puzzled look on your face, Prentice? She just went on a 15-minute rant about MC Hammer's ugly ass.
MC Hammer. He was the other one. Cal wasn't MC Hammer.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. If you take Cal out, you've got MC Hammer.
Oh, yes. I'm so
There we go.
I'm going to show off.
So glad we're on the same page. I just don't think that it would have made any goddamn difference. All it would have done was make Cisco feel bad about killing his friend. Like, if you would have taken out 2 of the however many hundreds of them there are, I think you're still going to have that problem.
Yeah. Okay. Let's leave the terrorists out there to plot more plans. I just,
It's not like we haven't done it before, sir.
And how well has that worked out for us?
We've done it both ways.
Look, I get it. Like but you gotta admit, like a Starfleet commander switching teams is gotta make him
It's treason.
a pretty high value target now in the opposing force. I mean, I think in the end, the reaction that you're having is the one that you're probably supposed to have. I don't think you're supposed to disagree that Sisko kind of dropped the ball on what he should have done.
Oh, oops.
It's just the very human. It's the most human characteristic that he couldn't do it. No matter how much he knew that he should have, he couldn't kill his friend.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not shooting Emily or Nicole down. Like the rest of y'all might get it, but these two are safe with me. So
does anyone else have anything else for the episodes we watched?
Oh my God.
it's good. I liked it.
Yes, I pointed out earlier that we had one B5 cameo, and I actually just this moment realized that there was another one. In the second Maquis episode, Legate Parn, who was the higher ranking Cardassian who showed up and sold Dukat down the river, I believe. That was John Shuck, who played Drawl in B5. Some of the time in B5, right? Doesn't he switch actors a couple times?
Yeah.
But he's the Minbari who was attached to the Great Machine and was very theatrical and over-the-top dramatic all the time, and I loved him.
And he also has some connection with Star Trek, too. He was the Klingon ambassador in Voyage Home and Undiscovered Country.
I was getting there. Yeah, he's been in several Trek series or movies. Yeah, shut up.
No.
And Christopher probably saw him on MASH, because I know you're a big fan of MASH, just like I was. He is Captain Painless Waldowski. I have no idea what episode that was.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's the movie.
No, that was the movie.
Yeah.
That was the movie. He was the dentist.
That's right.
I'm ready to go home now.
If that wraps up our discussion, let's go ahead and check back in with our newbies and get any questions and predictions they have, which could be anything from about the episode to which one of us is going to be the one Jessi cuts first.
It's Christopher. We don't have to question.
Yeah, there's no discussion on that. That's
there
not
was
a spoiler.
There was
Christopher's
one other
going to be the first off. Let's go ahead and get his questions and predictions first.
Hold on, Mike's got something.
I was going to bring up one other talking point. Something I wondered if any of y'all caught was, as part of what I was saying before, we get to know quite a bit more about the Cardassians, and in particular Gul Dukat. The reason, we've learned that from the Cardassians, right? Loyalty doesn't really exist between them. He just gets sold out by Legate Parn, and he's like, yeah, that tracks. But he also gave a reason why he thinks he got sold out. Did y'all catch what that was?
I remember, but I don't remember.
Letting the Bajorans
Didn't
live.
he didn't
he didn't kill the
exterminate them.
Bajorans. Yeah.
So turns out perhaps he isn't maybe the worst Cardassian there is out there, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think Kim is. Sorry.
Okay, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay, so now that we have ran through our discussion and gone off the rails and discussed all sorts of things, let's go ahead and get our questions and predictions from our newbies, and we're going to start with Christopher.
I don't have a whole lot of questions.
Make some up.
I was going to say, my prediction is I think that the Maquis are going to be, not the Maquis, the Maquis are going to be somebody who we see again. They're like, this choice that Sisko made is going to come back and bite him in the ass, and they're going to be repercussions. I also think that we are going to see more of this dynamic between Gul Dukat and Commander Sisko. I don't think that they would bolster Dukat's character so much to just kind of leave him by the wayside. And the fact that the Cardassians are selling him out maybe is giving him reason to rethink some things. And I think we're going to see a lot more of him. That's all I have right now.
Nicole.
So Gul Dukat left at the end. Where the hell did he go? Because the Parmesan guy, chicken parm guy, what's his name? Lego Parm? What's his name? That guy? The other Cardassian?
Legate Parn?
Yeah, him, that guy. I thought it was chicken parm. Sorry.
I like it.
Nicole's hungry.
Yeah. So he basically
Better than her
said,
usual being thirsty.
yes. So he basically said, like, let the Maquis get rid of him or we will, right? So where the fuck did Ducat go? Like, is he accepted back to the Cardassians? Does he still have his rank? Is he going back to Cardassia? Is he now a rogue agent on his own? Like, what's the deal with that? Because if they threw him under the bus and they were ready to execute him, if the Maquis doesn't, it doesn't seem to me that he would be safe to go back to Cardassia or wherever he comes from. So that was my biggest question. Like, what's going on with that there? And then my other question was, will we ever see Cal again in the Maquis? Christopher kind of mentioned that in his predictions. Is this Maquis thing over? Is this going to cause an issue later? Will there actually be a war that starts? And also, my other question was, is Quark going to stay in his little jail? Like, is he really going to get in trouble and reprimanded, or are they just going to let him go back to his little casino and tell him, no, no, slap him on the hand? Also, too, it kind of made me mad that the Admiral lady questioned Odo because Odo's a G and she needs to be put in her place. So I was glad to see that Cisco stuck up for Odo and that Odo is still running security. Will they ever let him put his reins on that he wants to put on? Because it seems that he wants things to be a lot more strict. So I was just curious if they would ever let him implement any of that kind of stuff that he wants to do. I think that was it.
Let's go to Chris.
Yeah, no, everything that Nicole said. Plus, a question I have is, why the hell did Cisco keep bringing Bashir with him? What the hell is Bashir going to do?
Agreed.
Ooh,
Yeah, why are you bringing it?
Don't you remember the season opener where Bashir was like a fucking commando in the ductwork?
He is a doctor.
Man.
He is not supposed to be a combatant.
He's a
He
learned
apparently
doctor.
did not take the oath to not harm because he was ready to kick some ass early in the season.
Fuck that Hippocratic oath. Yeah, no, I was just, that was just one question I had. But everything else that Nicole said, I think, and Christopher said too, I think there's implications going forward and a lot of question marks on what's going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see.
And Jessi.
I have no questions, but I think since Cisco did such a good job of preserving peace, we will never see these people again. And also, I'd like to think that I never have to see Odo's little slimy spaghetti arm as a lasso ever again. And I think he's going to get a girlfriend because they were talking about he should get the love of a woman. I agree. I'm still pulling for him and somebody.
Odo?
Can you Nope.
Say it.
Is
I
that
know
who
you're
you're
gonna say. I knew
talking
you were
about?
thinking
How,
the shit.
how would he?
Yep.
Can you imagine
Yep.
what?
We already know.
Would it be
I
his?
already know.
Would it be his spaghetti arm he uses? What's happening there?
He can
Can
do
he?
that with his arm. Let's
Whatever you like, Jesse. He can give you whatever you like.
Can he
Oh.
get solid enough to get a boner?
Ooh, ooh,
My God.
ooh.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even say it.
Damn,
Everybody
Nicole.
else did.
That's
Nicole,
a legit
I think-
question.
Nicole,
Bunch
if he
of
goes
fucking
and sees
perp.
Bashir, there's a little blue pill that they can give him. It'll take care of that whole problem.
But if he can turn himself into inanimate objects like tables and chairs and shit, yeah, right?
Chris gets it.
Just a my pillow. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll play the song, All the Things Your Man Won't Do. Got it.
Your man ain't Odo.
Listen, I didn't have to say it. We got a bunch of fucking pervs on this goddamn podcast. Fucking perverts.
No, we're
You're just figuring this out now.
You brought it up, Jesse. You're not innocent.
All I said is, can you imagine? And everybody let it happen.
No,
So,
Jesse, you were over there talking about Odo's slimy arm and all that. That was
I
you.
just don't want to.
You started
I
it.
don't. Here we go again. I don't want to see it. I'm a fucking what? What did
You're
Ryan always
prude.
call me?
Prude.
And speaking of Ryan, we do have Ryan coming on rather soon. So we will make reference to all of the times you have been a prude and allow Ryan to tell you how wrong you are.
I got a flag for Ryan too, by the way. So let me know when he's going to be on here, and I'll hang it.
Oh, hell yeah.
When we do the episode crossover, Ryan will be joining us.
I do want to do just a real quick shout out to James for sticking around, even though he hates DS9 as much as some of us do. He's hanging out for our podcast. So I just want to shout out to him and his new wife for sticking through with us. So thank you guys.
Okay, I think that wraps up our episode and our discussions for the Maquis Part 1 and 2. We're going to get ready to get rid of the newbies, as those of us who are longtime fans are going to go make fun of them, discuss all their bullshittery, and all the things we can't tell them about yet. If you want to join our discussion online, we actually have just had a couple new people join our Patreon this last week, and they have got access to our Discord server, where we have different discussions going on that you can join in on there. We also have on the Patreon some exclusive content. We recently posted an outtakes reel, 5 minutes of shit that didn't even make the show. So if you think what's in the show is bad, you should hear what we don't put in the show. And then just use your imagination to think of what we're not even going to put in the outtakes reel, because there's that too. So I don't know if I've been the zookeeper on this mess, the host, or the person trying to herd the cats, but I am Blake, and with me has been
Prentice,
Emily,
Mike,
Chris,
Nicole,
Christopher,
And Jessi.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us. He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to Visiting with the Prophets on Especially the Lies. If you have not watched Star Trek Deep Space Nine past the Maquis Part 1 and 2, and don't want to hear spoilers about the rest of the show, this is probably your time where you should go back with our newbies through the wormhole and maybe check in on them and see if they're doing okay, because we have some concerns about a few people after this one. So we're going to just get to the questions that we had. So, Emily, where do we want to start this?
All right. You know what? We're gonna start with Jessi and work our way back. Okay,
Perfect.
so she predicts Odo gets a girlfriend.
Yes, that happened.
Yes. And what do we think she will think of who Odo's girlfriend is?
Oh, she's going to hate it. I also think that there's going to be some questions when Odo turns himself into mist.
Oh, that
Oh,
was
for
really hard not to
sure.
comment on.
Oh, there's going to be some thoughts and feels on. If she had concerns about the gooey arm, she's going to love mist.
And my favorite discussion involving Odo and sex when he had sex with the founder lady.
Mhm.
Founder lady. It's like, no, this is what sex is. It's kind of like the Great Link, but it's not. I was like, that was a weird episode. You essentially having sex with your sister / mom. And
Yeah.
His body count is huge.
I guess so. The entire race of beings. Right?
Planetary.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's gonna be an awkward episode because that comes across as very incestuous and icky. Just yeah, so icky. I did appreciate Chris's question of why did Cisco bring Bashir? I kind of forgot Bashir was in this episode.
Well, if you're going on a rescue mission, someone's going to be injured. You do
right.
take the medic.
Made sense.
And they're
Yeah.
already paying him, so why pay another extra?
Star
All
Trek.
right.
Your post-economic future. What are you talking about? Oh, sorry.
So we get into Nicole's questions of do they ever let Odo run security how he wants?
No.
Nope.
Not really.
He's always kind of reined in by either Starfleet or the Bajoran government.
And it's going to blow up in their face later. And I mentioned this in a private chat to Emily, and it's going to come up at multiple points. But Starfleet tries to direct Odo how to run security, which sets up the whole Eddington plot line, which we'll get more on that in a minute.
Yep. I saw that as total foreshadowing to the Eddington thing coming.
Uh-huh.
She asked if Quark stays in jail. Nope.
He visits every now and then.
No, we did kind of gloss by that. I'm surprised more people didn't have a problem with it when they were busy picking on Cisco. But yeah, Quirk was, he basically just admitted, like, yeah, I sold weapons to a terrorist and then just got a slap on the wrist and they forget about it. It's
I did
probably
love...
the worst thing that he has done so far in the show.
But he's not always good at it, so I think that's why they kind of just let him back out because
Oh man.
they know he's doing shady shit, so they can keep an eye on him and like catch other people. So it kind of works.
Probably sold them those photon torpedoes that Cisco witnessed the Maquis use to blow up a transport. Like,
yeah, well,
I did love though when Odo asked Cisco how long should he hold Quark, and Cisco just turns around, and goes, forever.
Yeah.
Nicole asked, "Will we see Cal and or the Maquis again?"
No Cal again.
Well, no Cal, which is honestly a huge disservice.
He gets mentioned by name in season 5 after the Dominion wipes out the Maquis. They do say he was killed by the Jem'Hadar, but we don't ever see Cal on screen again.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Maquis action that happens before that, and yeah, it's a shame we don't see him return since it seems as though he's kind of a critical player in what the Maquis are.
Where did Dukat go when he left DS9? Did he go back to Cardassia? Did he go rogue? I actually thought that was a really interesting question because I never thought of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at this point, we're getting hints of how complex the Cardassian government and ruling structures and military are, but we haven't fully gotten there yet. And we'll get to it eventually when there's that whole secret fleet that even Dukat didn't know about. He's still fairly high ranking and knows shit.
There are a couple things there. Like, you get the sense from this episode and previous ones, really, that like betrayal and assassination are kind of like par for the course in Cardassian culture. And the easy answer is he probably goes back and kills Legate Parn, because I don't think we see him again.
Well, because in the previous episode, Garrett kills another Cardassian, and as far as we know, nothing happens regarding it. Like, does anyone even notice this guy's missing, or they're just like, another one bites the dust?
Here's a question. Between the Romulans and the Cardassians, who are the sneakiest?
Ooh.
The tough one. I would probably go with Romulans being the sneakier. I feel like the Cardassians are almost in that same like groove as the Ferengi, where it's like you kind of know what they're Cardassian's gonna Cardassian. They're gonna betray, they're gonna backstab.
And Romulans can pass as Vulcan. Cardassians, as far as we know, cannot pass as like another group to like truly infiltrate.
Well, they do have the surgical where they've made themselves look like because we have Seska and Voyager.
True.
But I would say the Romulans are more truly sneaky, paranoid, doing the spycraft. Cardassia has that, but they also have the added element of being the totalitarian regime. I mean, Cardassians are the Nazis in space.
Yeah.
Or they're going to become. Right now, I think we're kind of the post-World War I heading towards World War II Germans is what I would almost refer to the Cardassians as at this point. And so for them, it's much more the authoritarian rule.
Yeah.
No dissent, military's running it.
Well, and they can do like the cosmetic stuff to blend in, but like the Romulans really don't have to when they're trying to like infiltrate Vulcan society.
It's kind of funny, like that we're watching this episode and learning about Cardassian culture and like the militaristic aspect of it right after we had everybody watch Mirror Mirror, and it's like, well, the Cardassians are a lot more like Mirror Universe. Is it Terran Federation or than like the similarities were kind of clicking for me.
Yeah.
Well, and even when we get to crossover, the Cardassians in the Mirror Universe are not that different from the Cardassians we're going to see later in DS9.
All right. And then most of Christopher's predictions were, well, Maquis will come back, which we've discussed, and they will. And then that we'll see a lot more of Dukat. And yes, we will, but I don't think he will be able to predict one of the twists that's coming.
No.
And I'm really, I don't know if excited's the right word, but I can't wait to figure out if they recognize him without the Cardassian makeup.
Well, and I will say, and kind of getting to Christopher and his reaction to Cisco letting Cal Hudson go. I cannot wait until we get to the Eddington arc.
Yeah.
And I want to see what Christopher's response is to the lengths that Cisco goes to, which I think is his reaction to he let Cal go. And I think that's why we see what we do with Eddington. But I want to see what Christopher's reaction to Cisco going after Eddington is. Because I'm willing to bet, knowing Christopher the way I do, he's going to have a problem with the way Cisco goes after Eddington. And I cannot wait until he does that. Because I'm going to save some damn clips from this show. And when he starts in on that's bullshit and that's over, I am going to play some of his clips about how he shouldn't have let him go. He should have. You got what you asked for, you jackass.
Oh, I can't wait for War Crime Cisco to show up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's just a really good episode. It gets memed a lot. I just saw one of them. But I'm interested to see how their perceptions of Ducat will change as the series goes. Because as far as this episode goes, they don't like him, but they're like, okay, he wasn't bad in this episode, which I agree with. But his character arc has all sorts of ups and downs.
And I tried to go fishing by bringing that point up at the end because I did think it was interesting that Ducat pointed out maybe he teased that maybe by his mercy, like the Bajorans didn't get wiped out en masse. But it is funny. It's like you said, he goes through a lot of twists and turns in his character arc and kind of, in a lot of ways, ends up being the ultimate big bad at the end of the series.
Yeah, it's wild. But it was nice to get some questions and predictions from him finally.
Yeah, so we out of questions?
Yep, that covered it.
There was one other thing I kind of sat on. I was already harping on guest stars and stuff, but it would be, again, I would feel bad if we missed it. There was one more fun one in this episode, and that was I gotta get the name of the alien race correct, the Zeppelite. The Zeppelite captain was played by Michael Bell, who we talked about before. He, to me, was the voice of Prowl in the Transformers cartoon back in the 80s, but he, notably in Trek history, in the beginning of this very season, he was one of the fellow prisoners that helped Leonalis escape from the penal colony. That was where I first brought him up. But even more notably, he is essentially the bad guy in episode 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was the leader of the colony that was keeping the giant alien space baby held hostage. So just kind of he's basically Star Trek royalty in a way in my mind. And so gotta bring him up again. And I think this might be the last time we see him appear in Trek, but twice this season.
Anything else that you want to bring up, Prentice? I think you said you had some things you wanted to touch on in this, or?
We covered it with the whole thing about can Odo change into certain things, about the sexual piece. We got into that off the bat with Jessi's comments. So I have nothing else to add at this point. We covered pretty much all of it. So thank you, Emily, for tracking the questions as methodically as you always do.
I do what I can.
And I did talk about in the piece, this is where Ira Stephen Bear really says the show starts to take that turn. So I'm curious to see where the newbies will think as we start into that. Because you look at the next run of episodes we've got. Next one we're going to do is The Wire, which is a very Garrick-centric episode. I think they're going to enjoy that one. We go from The Wire into Crossover, and boy, can I not wait until we get Jesse's reaction to Intendant Kira.
Since the next episode is really heavy on Garrick, that clip I sent you guys on Facebook that talked about when the show first aired and Gold Ducat was really popular, like the popular Cardassian, and then 2 decades later, it's Garrick.
Yeah.
And having we watched Maquis, and Gold Ducat was in a fair amount, and now we get a Garrick episode, and it just made me think of that and the switch. Like, what happened in that 20 years? That we went from, hey, people were liking the space Nazi to we like the, what do we consider Garrick?
Recovering space Nazi? Yeah, I don't know. I am looking at the episode list, and it's a lot more world building and focus on the Cardassians a couple more times because we also get the Tribunal right at the end of the season, which is going to be another insight into the Cardassian race and how they operate. And yeah, next week we introduce, not only do we get a nice big dose of Garrick, but they introduce Anabran Tain, who we'll see several times throughout the rest of DS9, and is a pretty interesting character in his own right. So
we didn't really talk much about why the Vulcan was unable to do a mind meld with Ducat, because don't they hit on that at some point?
I thought it had something to do with the complex structure of the Cardassians' brains or something of that nature that somebody spoke about one time.
I thought they explained it once, but I can't remember
Yeah.
I don't think it was
Ducat,
a deep explanation, and I think it was one of those you question whether that was legit or if it was bullshit type explanations.
Yeah.
that was Ducat. He
Yeah.
said it. He kind of alluded to the fact that he had trained his mind to be resistant to the mind meld, which, may be true or may not be true.
And it makes me wonder why you would like that. Even by Vulcan standards, they don't do that a lot. So why are you specifically training for it?
They said it reminded me of the movie Inception, and they kind of talk about how some people go through training to resist being incepted in their sleep.
Hmm. Well, and they've established there's some species that telepathy and things like that don't
Hmm.
work on in Star Trek. So and it
Right.
just could be the Cardassians are one of them, but they're not going to admit that. They're going to say we've trained ourselves.
Yeah, because they're Cardassians. There was a question earlier that Nicole asked before the predictions and questions. What does a transparent skull look like? I don't want to see it.
I was thinking the aliens from Mars attacks.
And that's the exact
Yes.
same thing I was thinking.
I was going to say, I think there's some shit living in the deep, dark part of the ocean that has transparent skulls and skins. You can go look up some National Geographic photos.
Yeah, and it has to be off the coast of Australia because that's where all the weird stuff lives. Australia.
Pretty much, yeah.
And speaking of off the coast of Australia, when we get to crossover, as we've mentioned, we do have our friend Ryan from Yum Yum Pod joining us for that one. That's going to be interesting to get some of our new folks' take on Ryan when he jumps on. We will also make sure that our HR department is thoroughly notified and ready to handle any complaints of inappropriate behavior for when we have Ryan on the show. And I think that wraps us up for our discussion on the Maquis. We will be back next week where we discuss The Wire. And again, you can join us. All of our social links are down below, as well as the link to our Patreon. You can access that and get into our Discord server and join the conversation there. And you never know what content may show up out there that doesn't make it in the show. So make sure to check all that out. Until then, I am Blake, and with me has been
Prentice.
Emily.
And Mike.